Hello, everyone. Christina Chiappetta here, MS4 General Permit Coordinator for the New York State DEC. And today I'm going to lead us through a walkthrough of how to complete the Interim Progress Certification form. Couple of notes here. There is no hard copy version of the Interim Progress Certification. If you're interested in viewing the content of the form, you can do one of two things. Refer to the items due within 6 months of the effective date of permit in the Compliance Items Summary tool, which is located on our MS4 Toolbox page, or you can sign into NForm and just scoot your way through the form that way to view the content. In order to complete the interim progress certification, you will need your electronic notice of intent submission number. The electronic notice of intent submission number can be found either on the electronic notice of intent certification form or once in NForm on the submission overview page for that ENOI. And last note here before I get going is if you would like someone to receive emails from me about the MS4 general permit, please consider adding them to the contact information on the interim progress certification form. I use these contacts as they are the most up to date, and a lot of the contacts from the electronic notice of intent, I am already getting bounce backs for those. So just keep that contact information up to date, and that can help with getting some emails from me. That said, I'm going to start going through the interim progress certification. So what we have here, I'm just on the MS4 general permit page. Make sure all this is out of the way. The MS4 general permit page on the DEC website. And I'm going to scroll down to where I see my form section on this page. And ignore the fact that this says pending. Once I get this video posted and everything updated, the website will also be updated. But you're going to scoot down here to the DEC online forms login. You'll see what I passed over are the certification form and the duly authorized representative form. Both of these forms are linked inside of the interim progress certification. They need to have a home on our webpage in order to link them effectively. But these are these forms will show up in the interim progress certification. So I'm going to click on my DEC forms link, and then I'm going to click on NForm login. And here's where I will sign in. Make sure. Wonderful. So the next step here is to find the form. I'm going to click on Form Finder, and I like to just type in MS4. All the forms for MS4 will show up. The form of interest for today is the interim progress certification, that one that is going to be made up of the 6-month requirements. And like I mentioned previously, you need your electronic notice of intent submission number to start this form. That submission number can be found in one of two locations listed here. I am using a fictitious, municipality to complete my form. So you'll see I have a fictitious certification form from, again, the fictitious electronic notice of intent. So I'm going to copy out the e-submission number here, and I'm going to paste it in here, and I'm going to begin the form. My fictitious municipality is Big City, and the permit ID is 000 at the end here of the permit identification number. The reason to use that ENOI submission number to trigger the beginning of your form is because now a lot of the information in the beginning is pre-populated. A lot of the contact information right off the rip, you do not have to type it in. However, that said, and as I mentioned, if you have someone that no longer works for your municipality or your entity, please adjust that contact information appropriately. My fictitious municipality is a city, so I'm going to click on city here as it is a traditional. Also, if that was entered incorrectly on the notice of intent, you have the option here to change it. I have here my ranking official included, and then also my report preparer. What I do need to include here is the stormwater program coordinator. So I'm just going to do stormwater program coordinator, and I'm going to include the phone number and their email. Wonderful. And at the bottom here, I'll click the next. What you'll notice is largely throughout this form. It's consisting of yes, no, and not applicables. Those are the ways that you will answer these questions. If you answer something yes, then you can move on to the next question. There might be some conditional questions that pop up in response to your answer, and I'll go through a couple of those examples. If you say no, then a comment box for why you say no will pop up. The same kind of comment box will show up when you click not applicable. I'll go through a couple of those scenarios here. For the purposes of this overview, I'm going to click yes a lot just to scoot through a lot of these questions. The questions do go in order of the permit. They also go in order of that compliance item summary tool. So I clicked yes on all of those things. Parts 1 through 5 is now complete. I will click on the next section. Part 6 and 7 through here, the questions are the same. So they are not broken out into separate sections. The citations are used throughout all of the questions as well. Again, I'm going to use yes for a lot of these just to facilitate this process. What I am going to say not applicable to, and what might actually show up for some of the smaller villages around the state, is has a construction site inventory been developed? I'm going to say not applicable here. And the reason, again, for me to say that with regards to our smaller villages is that it's possible that they do not have any construction activity occurring, in which case you would say no construction activity occurring and leave it there. That would be your comment. I'm going to scoot through some of this, like I mentioned. If you would like to add any comments at the bottom, you're welcome to do so. It's not a required field, but if you have any narrative information you want to include, that is up to you. Go to the next section here. Now this is part 8 requirements and where some of our conditional questions pop up. Do you have any discharge to impaired water listed in Appendix C? Yes or no. So I'll click no first. If no, you'll notice no further questions pop up. But if yes, it asks you a subsequent question. For which pollutants of concern do you are you interested in, or excuse me, not interested in? For which pollutants of concern do you discharge to based on those impaired water bodies that you discharge to in Appendix C? So we'll say here, maybe I discharge to phosphorus and only phosphorus impaired water bodies. Then you would just click phosphorus and answer the questions below. If you discharge to water bodies, different water bodies, all for different pollutants of concern, you would click on all of the pollutant of concern that are applicable, and then you'll see each section that pops up here based on what you've checked above. For this, I'm just going to say we have yes and phosphorus, and then I'll say yes again here. And now I'm going to go to part 9. Part 9 is again our TMDL water bodies that are in the MS4 general permit. Those TMDL watersheds that we're concerned about are listed in table 3 of the general permit. And again, do you discharge to any of those TMDLs? Yes or no? If no, nothing else to answer here. If yes, then you're going to now answer a few more questions. Stipulate which TMDL you discharge within. I'll pick Greenwood Lake for now, and then you'll answer questions specific to that TMDL watershed. Again, narrative space here below if you'd like to fill that in. Going to go to the next section here. This is called the compliance schedule review page section of this form, and this is really how the interim progress certification will show up. I'll say in the future for those in between times. We want to make sure that you're looking at the future, things that are coming at future compliance deadlines, and paying attention to those things. The first section here is all about things that are due within 1 year of the effective date of coverage. That compliance time frame has not yet arrived, but you'll fill out where you are with those items. And I can just say, for now, I'll just say not started down the line. These are also broken out part 6 and 7 here. And then these are part 8 questions, part 9 questions here. For this one, I'll say not applicable just to show you a little variety here. Clarify the reason for anything in this table that's not applicable. And you say do not discharge to these TMDL watersheds. The next section here is just about for each of the subsequent years of the permit, have you reviewed the compliance items due First one's about 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years. And again, you'd answer those as you deem appropriate. For this, for this example, I'll select no here, that I haven't reviewed the items due within 5 years. And have you reviewed compliance items that need to be done routinely? I'll say yes. For anything of the above, you'll include why you have not reviewed it. So I selected no for those doing it 5 years. Have not done work planning out that far, and something like that. Again, more space for narrative information. Go to the next section here. This is the last section before the review and the certification. I do want to take a minute just to walk through this process. So you'd select first if you are or are not the ranking elected official or principal executive officer, yes or no. If yes, you'll see here that the certification form will pop up. When you get to this spot, you would include your information. This certification form is very similar to the one used for the notice of intent. I've reformatted it a little bit just for ease of use and organization. There was a little bit of a glitch with the certification form just last week that I have now resolved. If you are having any issues, please let me know. My permit number for Big City is 000. The e-submission number here, this is the e-submission number for the interim progress certification. So I'm going to come up here. I'm at the top left-hand side and it says submission. And I'm going to copy that number at the top there and I will paste it in here. I would then save this form down and upload it here. If I'm not the ranking official, I would select no. In this case, the certification form still needs to be completed, but also needs to be supplemented with some type of duly authorized representative authorization. There are two options to do that. You have the duly authorized representative form linked here, and again, also on the main page, or you can submit written authorization. There's no requirement to use the form. We just need something in writing. If the form is easier for you, that works for us. Clicking on the form here, you would include the relevant information and then also the name of the person who you're giving the ability to sign on your behalf. If you have multiple people who you'd like that you want to have the ability to sign on behalf of the ranking elected official or principal executive, you may want to take this and adapt it for those needs. You might want to take this section and duplicate it multiple times, again, in some kind of written format. You then save that down and attach it here. The next section is the review section where you can see all the information that you've included along the way, all the answers to all of your questions. You can double check them here. And you'll see it already notified me here that I'm missing my certification form, my duly authorized representative form or written authorization. And then the last step is to certify and submit. I'm not going to do that just because I don't want some kind of fictitious form being submitted through our system. Once a form is submitted, it is part of our record. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out. Thank you so much.